Hi, Abraham. Thank you for answering one of my questions. What is aging? Is any of it pre-programmed, or is it all thought-based? Is it a result of pinching off of connection to source?
Well, you can look at it that way, but we do not, because there are seasons and cycles in everything that is living. In other words, there is nothing that is physically formatted that is, in its current form, eternal. What is eternal is the source energy that flows forth into that which is the physical form. And so everything that is physical is cycling. We have noticed that most of you do not complain about aging when you are moving from birth to about 12. In other words, you are appreciating all of that. Little Laurel, granddaughter of Jerry, came running up to him not long ago. She had heard that he had had a birthday, and she said to him with such glee, because she had just had one too, pronounced it to him with such enthusiasm, "You look older." And she meant it in the most complimentary way. She loves it when people tell her that she looks older than last time they saw her. And she wanted to give him the same compliment. And he took it in exactly the spirit that she offered it, you see. You are always evolving and always changing. And so there is a difference between moving through time, which is what aging is, and maturing, which is what cycling is, and declining, which is what sometimes people are talking about when they're talking about aging. In other words, it is not necessary for you to ever decline. You can continue to thrive no matter what stage of maturation you exist in. And decline is about resistance.
Okay, but so I'm not sure what maturing means. Like if you're not
changing,
if you're
evolving.
not declining, is that pre-programmed into our cells, or is it
Yes,
thought-based?
you could say it that way. In other words, it was the plan. None of you, none of us, none of anything came forth into the physical environment intending to remain exactly as you are. You cannot stand still. And that process of evolution is expected. It is the physical perspective that puts a negative slant on it.
Can you change with thought the way you evolve? The
Yes,
way
you
mature?
can. Yes, you can change with thought the way you evolve. So now your question is, so if I change my perspective of this maturation process, could my body do what?
Could my body reflect the way, let's say I pick an age, I want to look at a certain age?
Yes.
And
We
change
recommend
it?
you all do that and announce it to everyone that that is your age. And practice the feeling of it until you believe it, and your body will succumb to that vibration.
Thank you. That's what I thought.
There is a difference between, begin again. Remember, when you pick up any subject of any subject is like a stick with two ends on it. So there is what I'm wanting and the absence of it.
Right.
And so when you approach the subject, you're wanting to find that feeling that Laurel gave to Jerry in her exuberance about her age. In other words, you want to pick something that feels good to you, and we would encourage that you pick something that feels believable to you in the sense that you won't get a lot of flack back from others. Jerry went for an eye examination some years ago, and the nurse wanted to know how old he was, and he sincerely told her he did not know. And she was furious with him. "You should know." And he said, "Perhaps, but I do not." And then he said, "I know what year I was born, if that will help you." And she said, "That would help me a great deal." And then she went off, calculated what that age was, came back and announced it to him. And then she said to him, "You are this many years old." And what she meant was, next time you come back, you better remember. And Jerry said, I have forgotten already. There is no point in aggravating people, really, because there are a lot of people that are very interested in how old everyone is. And it's not an easy thing to withdraw from the process of age when there is so much of the world that is looking at it. But it is our promise to you that when you no longer care about the number of years that you have moved through, and you find not an age, but a lifestyle, not an age, but a state of being, not an age, but a feeling of being, then you can become ageless. And then the next question is, well, then will I live forever? And we say, no, because that was not your intention when you came forth. This is a hard thing for our physical friends to hear from us from time to time. You say, I really, 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 really not want to age. And we say, everyone is going to move through time as long as you are in this time-space reality. But you can control how you feel while you are moving through. And then sometimes they will say, well, Abraham, when I'm finished with this physical experience, I do not want to come back again. So please tell everyone who is needing to know that I'm not coming back. Please let them know that I am finished with physical experience, that this is it for me. And we say, we will carry your message. But fortunately, those decisions are not made from your disconnected human perspective. Those decisions are always made from that empowered feeling of ecstatic ecstasy about the non-physical emerging into physical for another leading edge experience. And you don't say, I want, from your non-physical perspective, I want to go forth into a physical body and I want it not to change. You say, I want to go forth and have the natural physical process, and I intend to pay attention to the way I feel so that I can experience the optimum, delicious, interactive co-creation at every stage of my physical evolution. There is wonder and fabulous experience in every single age, you see, in every single perspective. If you had any idea how old you are old.
Yes.
You are very, very old. It's time to get over it. It's time to start pronouncing your age with pride. I am old. I am ancient. I am, as Esther says, older than dirt. And we say, not quite. Yes.
One last question. Coming up here, I was reading the new Conversations with God book.
Yes.
And which I love, as well as Abraham. And I'm wondering, I'm trying to understand who this person, that Neil Donald Walsh or collective, is channeling that calls itself God. Is this just a voice of God, as Abraham is another voice of God?
That's a good way of putting it. And everyone has access to that source energy. We call it source. We don't use the word God for the reason that when we say God, or when anyone does, it activates within you what you've already decided that is. And usually what's activated within you is different from what we know that to be. So we use other words in order to get you to align more easily with that which you really are. Even using the word God, though, we want you to understand that that which man calls God is source energy in the process of eternal evolution. And that man, woman, you are not worried about that, all the same. You come forth into this physical experience as that leading edge extension of that which God is. And as that leading edge extension, you are out here specifically having the nitty-gritty experience, which is taking that which you call God into an expanded experience too. The greatest misunderstanding that human has about that which human calls God is that God is somehow separate from everything else and is all finished and complete and perfect. And we say, if that could be, and we promise you that it could not be, that which you call God would have atrophied long ago. In other words, everything must continue to expand. And in this eternal universe, everything does. And everything that you see around you is an extension of one form or another of that which you call God. And you have, no matter who you are, a one-celled amoeba in the ocean or a genius human like yourself, you have full access to that source energy that is God. And you can tap into the resources of that which is God and utilize it in whatever manner you are wanting to. You can utilize it for blood flow. You can utilize it for stamina or energy. You could use it to regenerate your own cells. You could use it to keep yourself feeling vital and alive. You could use it for specific information on some topic that you are pondering. You don't have to justify in any way your utilization of this energy. And every time you specify a desire, that energy that man calls God comes so willingly and so eagerly and so fluidly and so forcefully forward in order to accommodate that ripples in your future experience are laid out before you. It's a sight to see. There is nothing that source energy adores more than a room full or even one human getting excited about something and being willing to ponder it enough with specifics that you launch some energy, because the entire universe, all that we know to be, then rides that current. And that is what life is, this eternal, joyous, ever-expanding life, you see. So that's why we get a little worked up, never angry, but worked up when we see humans who are in some way now wanting to quantify God in some limited way, and even worse, trying to separate themselves, who are the main reason for the expansion of that which is God, from the whole process. In other words, somehow this got all badly turned around as someone tried to convince you that you are separate to begin with, and that you are not up to speed with that which that is, and that that which is God is finished, and now you've got to muck around in some uncomfortable way through some sort of sacrifice in order to prove yourselves. We don't blame you for being angry about that angry God. In other words, there's nothing of the kind that is even like that. All of those interpretations, and they were human interpretations of something, came from man's disconnected mind. Yes.
Thank you, Abraham.
Yes. It is comforting, by the way, for many to visit with that which they believe is God. In other words, we do not disagree with the label at all or disapprove of it in any way. Someone said to us one day, "Abraham, I've come to so many of your gatherings and I never hear you speak of God, and that is troubling to me." And we said, actually, we speak of nothing else.